Frankenstorms, but I appreciate his comments about it. Fort Myers, Florida in particular was one of the hardest hit communities. And doing a little research in connection with the notes and what I'm going to share with you this morning, the storm surge that came into there was up to the rooftops. I mean, it's just hard to fathom that much water. And what was left was sticks. It looks like bulldozers had come in and just leveled the community. But it was Hurricane Ian, a Category 4 storm, that did the work that bulldozers normally do. So in thinking about that, and in terms of the media's attention, in terms of charitable organizations' attention, the nation's attention on the people who are suffering so badly in Florida, I thought I'd deliver a message to you called Frankenstorms, because it's kind of an idea about the storms of life, but now we've got Halloween coming up at the end of this month, so it was Frankenstorms, but that's just how my mind works. The text of the message is taken from the New Testament book of 1 Timothy, chapter 6, verses 17 through 19. This is Jesus speaking. This is Paul talking to Timothy. Tell those rich in this world's wealth to quit being so full of themselves and so obsessed with money, which is here today and gone tomorrow. Tell them to go after God, who piles on all the riches we could ever manage, to do good, to be rich in helping others, to be extravagantly generous. If they do that, they will build a treasury that will last, gaining life that is truly life. So here's a picture with the death toll at more than 100 people and rising, 2.5 million evacuation orders, 3.4 million plus without power, and 60 billion plus in private insured losses. There's not much we can say about Hurricane Ian that's really a cause for celebration. Making matters worse, FEMA is running out of money, and the storm's proximity to November 8th gives it this added resonance. At a time when the nation seems both economically and politically polarized, the calamity of Frankenstorms like Ian give us all some pause for thought. Some are calling it a 500-year storm. Some are calling it the perfect storm. The truth is, it is Florida's deadliest hurricane since 1935, most unfortunately of whose victims were drowned. What Hurricane Ian and the response to it has, I think, demonstrated, at least to me, maybe to you, is that when the media devotes wall-to-wall attention to something, and government officials bring a sense of urgency and then ask the public to respond in kind, remarkable things can happen. When last week and the days that have followed, what that's demonstrated to us is that even though we can't do anything to stop a hurricane, we can help mitigate the storm's destructive impact with a sense of resolve and collective action. It appears that the capacity for human compassion and action is always present, despite what you might otherwise hear through the media. But why do we tap into that kind of resolve only when natural disasters and external attacks occur? I mean, we've seen bombs over Baghdad going back decades ago, and we've witnessed the ancient land of Abraham become a war zone for his descendants. So you'd kind of think that we'd seen enough about tragedies. But then came remember that tsunami in Japan based upon a 9.9 earthquake? It was this roaring wave that rolled in and sucked, literally, people's lives and their innocence out to sea. The truth is that we have another crisis that is hovering over us for years and shows no sign of blowing over. In fact, Jesus criticized the leaders of his day, now some more than 2,000 years ago, for focusing on the weather, but ignoring the signals. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 16, verses 2 and 3, you find it easy enough to forecast the weather. Why can't you read the signs of the times? And as you've listened perhaps to evacuees and survivors, have you noticed what they've had to say? There is not a single person that I've heard who mourns or laments losing their, plasma TV or their submerged SUV. We're finding out now that spontaneous fires are consuming electrical vehicles as their batteries are corroded due to the water. But no one is running through the streets yelling, "Oh, my cordless drill is missing," or "I can't find my golf clubs." If they mourn, they are mourning for people that they knew that they've lost. And if they're rejoicing for family members and friends that have been miraculously found. So, where is God in storms like Ian? The disciples asked Jesus that identical question because it says in Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 and 24, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side. He, referring to Jesus, went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now, when evening came, he was alone there, but the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. In other words, what we've seen in Florida, the disciples saw on the Sea of Galilee. Tall, angry, destructive waves. Their fishing boat bounced and spun on white tops. The sky rumbled above them. The water churned beneath their boat. And I wonder if they were asking themselves, "Hey guys, where's Jesus? He told us to get in the boat, but where is he? We're alone. And we might drown." And the answer to that question is Jesus was praying. It says that he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Jesus made intercession with his Father his priority. Now, did he know about the storm? Of course he did. He's on the mountainside. Could he feel the winds and see the thunder? Absolutely. And when he sensed that danger, he chose to pray. And he still does. He offers an unending intercession on our behalf. It says in Romans chapter 8, verse 34, he is in the presence of God at this very moment, sticking up for us. And Jesus can pray us through the storm. And at the right moment, he meets us in it. Because it says in Matthew chapter 14, verse 25, Jesus went to them, referring to the disciples in the boat, walking on the sea. You see, Jesus became the answer to his own prayer. He entered this very turbulent world of his friends, and he reached out to them to save them. And he's doing the very same at this very moment in Escondido and Fort Myers, Florida. Through the steady hands of first responders, through the compassion of physicians, through the kindness of neighbors, and the generosity of people like you and me. We only see a small portion of God's activity, but we know this. He still steps into the superstorms of our life. And let's face it, this is a turbulent time for our country. We have a struggling economy, which some say is in recession or teetering on recession. We have international conflicts. We have our president talking about Armageddon as it relates to nuclear weaponry, as it relates to Russia. We have a divided electorate. And now, just a week and a half ago, an unprecedented 500-year storm. And it got me to thinking, is it possible that Jesus is also reminding us that people matter more than possessions? You know, we live in a land where we have more malls to shop in than high schools to educate in. We have more debt than credit. We have more clothes to wear than days we will ever be alive. Could Jesus be saying, as he did in Luke chapter 12, verse 15, watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. We see entire communities washed away or up in smoke. We see demolished $40,000 cars that will never, ever be driven again. And all of them have been hidden in this pile of debris churned up by Hurricane Ian. We see facades that have been blown away, houses that have been rocked off their foundation, and tons and tons and tons of sand where grass once grew. We see tankers grounded in an area that was once a boardwalk and a park. And in the background of our minds, we hear the quiet echoes of Jesus saying, as he did in Matthew chapter 16, verse 26, you know, kids, what good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world but forfeits his own soul? You know, I think raging hurricanes, let's say like Ian and Sandy in the past and others, have a way of prying our fingers off the stuff that we love. What was once most precious means extraordinarily little now. And what we once ignored is now become a matter of eternal importance. If all of our possessions, if all of your possessions were washed away in some tidal wave of disaster, could I still worship? Better yet, would I still worship? The answer to that question is probably indicative of our grip strength on the stuff that we cherish the most. Through circumstances like Ian, Christ reminds us stuff doesn't matter. People do. So understand the nature of possessions. But we've also got to be equally clear on the nature of people. Because we've seen incredible servants and heard extraordinary stories of selflessness and sacrifice. We've seen people rescuing their neighbors and civil servants risking their lives for people they don't even know. We saw and we continue to see humanity at its best, but we've also seen humanity at its worst. Looting, fighting, internet scams in the wake of Ian's aftermath. We've heard stories of rapes and robberies and fights. Someone once said, "The heavens declare the glory of God, but the streets declare the sinfulness of man." We have a sheriff in the area near Fort Myers, Florida, that said, "I just want y'all to remember we're a Second Amendment state, and you may not want to be caught looting because I can't really guarantee what the outcome is going to be." He was even quoted as saying, "I just hope they look like Swiss cheese." Now that's getting a little carried away, but he was making a point. This is a society of law and order, and we're not going to put up with people looting and taking away from people's tragedies. I mean, how vile can that be? But we've seen that too. The video footage taken in various areas of Florida has only really served to confirm the sad truth of that observation. We are people of both dignity and depravity. The hurricane actually blew back a lot more than just roofs. It blew the mask off the nature of mankind itself. The main problem in our world, I'm sorry to say, is not climate change, and it is not Mother Nature. The problem is human nature, like Rocky said. You strip away the police barricades or blow down the fences, and the real self is then revealed. We were born with a me-first mentality. And if you don't believe that, then just ask yourself, if you've had children, whether or not you had to teach your kids how to argue. Did you ever have to teach your kids how to argue? They don't have to be trained to demand their way, right? You don't have to show them how to stomp their feet and pout, do you? It's their nature. And it is our nature. The prophet Isaiah wrote in Isaiah 53, verse 6, "All of us have strayed like sheep. We've left God's paths to follow our own." You know, God's chosen word for our fallen condition is the word sin. And sin celebrates the letter in the middle. I, right? Because left to our own devices, we can lead godless, out of control lives. Paul, writing in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 3, said, "We just end up doing what we felt like doing when we felt like doing it." Sound familiar? And we don't have to go to Atlantic City. You don't have to go to Las Vegas or any other city of your choosing to see the chaos that living that way creates. When you do what you want to do and I do what I want to do, humanity and civility will implode. And when the Ians of life blow in, it reveals our true self, and our deepest of deepest needs is exposed. A need deeper than food, more permanent than boarded up houses and police barricades. We don't need a system. We need a new nature. We need to be changed from the inside out, not the other way around. a lot of discussion will continue around the future of some of the more devastated areas of Florida, particularly, as I mentioned before, Fort Myers, where storm surge nearly reached the roofs of some of the houses. Will Florida's hardest hit areas be restored? Will the boardwalks be repaired? How long will it take? Who's going to pay for it? All really good questions, but there is one thing that I've not heard anybody argue about, regardless of your political persuasion or otherwise. Someone is going to have to go in there and clean it up. No one is suggesting otherwise. Everyone knows someone is have to go in there and clean up the mess. And church, that's what God offers to do with us. Now, just a brief pause. I select the PowerPoint slides because I think sometimes it helps give a hook to what I'm saying. You may not necessarily remember everything that I said, but you might remember some crazy slide that I put up there, and then maybe that will help you remember what I said. Regardless, I try and pick slides that are appropriate given what I'm discussing. I will admit to you, this is a real photograph, but this was a photograph taken of an amusement park that was destroyed by Hurricane Sandy in New Jersey, not Florida. So, just being transparent. But God is the one that needs to come in and do what we can't. He comes into our sin-flooded lives and wipes up the old. When Paul reflected on his own conversion to Christianity, it prompted him to write this in Titus chapter 3, verse 5. You know, he gave us a good bath. We came out of it new people, washed inside and out by the Holy Spirit. You see, church, our sins do not stand a chance against the scrub brush of God's grace. Not a chance. But he does more than just clean us up. He rebuilds us. In the form of his Holy Spirit, God moves in and starts a renovation project, a complete makeover. Paul, writing to the church in Ephesus, Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20, said this, God can do anything, you know, far more than you could ever imagine or guess or request in your wildest dreams. He does it not by pushing us around, but by working within us, his Spirit deeply and gently within us. And what we can only dream of doing with the affected cities of Florida and other states as well, God has done with soul after soul after soul after soul. And he can do the same with us too, if we let him. The most disturbing stories that I could find from last week were those of people who refused to be rescued. Those who spent their final hours trapped in rooms and regretting the choice that they'd made. They could have been saved. They could have gotten out. Instead, they chose to stay, and many paid a permanent price for that choice. But church, you and I don't have to pay that price. What rescuers did for Florida, God can do for all of us. He has entered into our world. He has dropped a rope into our sin-swamped life. He will rescue. We simply need to grab onto his promises and let him lift us out. It reminds me of, I guess, a story or a joke, and I'm not so sure that I'm going to tell it completely accurately, but you'll get the gist. So think of a victim with Hurricane Ian, the waters are rising, and a person on a canoe is paddling by, and this person is standing on the roof because the water's rising, and so the canoeist says, hey, come down from the house, get into my canoe, and I'll take you to safety. Nah, I got it covered. We're good. Okay, see ya. The water continues to rise. This time a person in a motorboat comes by and says, dude, you're on the roof, the water's rising, I'm in a motorboat, I've got room, why don't you jump into the boat and I'll take you to safety? Nah, we're good. The waters will go away, they'll recede, I'll be fine. A little while later, the water's up to the rooftop and a helicopter comes by, and in a loudspeaker, grab the rope, we'll carry you to safety. Nah, I'm good. The waters will go away. A few hours later, the man on the top of the roof has died. So he meets Jesus at the gates and says, Lord, I'm so grateful to be in your presence, but I do have one question. Why did you let me die in those floodwaters? And Jesus said, I sent you a canoe, I sent you a boat, I sent you a helicopter. Why didn't you choose one of those options? And church, he does the same for us today. He has dropped that rope down into our society, and he wants to pull you out of the tragedies of life. And these people that we've read about, the 100 plus and counting, most of them died because they drowned. But we don't have to pay that price. What rescuers did for the people in Florida, God can do for us. As I said, he has stepped into our world. He's dropped this rope into our sin-swamped life. He will rescue. We just need to grab onto his promises and let him lift us out. Think of all the things that Noah couldn't find because of the flood. Have you thought about that? He couldn't find his neighborhood. He couldn't find his house. He couldn't find the comforts of home or the neighbors down the street. Frankly, there wasn't much left that Noah could find. But what he did find made all the difference in the world. Because it says in Genesis chapter 6, verse 8, Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. You see, if we have everything that money can buy and no grace, we've got nothing at all. But if we have nothing but grace, we have everything. And the question I want to pose to you, and maybe to those with whom you come into contact this week, have you found it? Have you found that grace? Because it's right there. The hand of your rescuer is reaching out to you through his son, Jesus Christ. Grab his hand. Trust in him while you still can. Because your Redeemer still lives, church. And he wants to rescue you, Frankenstorms and all. So this week, pray for those who are suffering in Florida. Do what you can to assist them. Prayer would be the best thing that you can do. But with those storms in your own life, consider the fact that your rescuer stands ready, willing, and able to help you. You just need to grab onto the rope. And that rope of salvation has been extended to you through Jesus Christ, who gave his life as an atoning sacrifice so that through him you could be saved forever. Comparing eternity with God to possessions of today is not a comparison. Because we know at some point in time, this whole world and perhaps universe is going to be just burned up. There's not going to be anything left. Nobody goes to their grave and takes stuff with them. They leave it all behind. So be smart. And for those circumstances in your life where you need help, don't refuse it. Don't be too proud to accept it. Don't be too stubborn. Simply grab onto the rope. Accept the help that's been provided. And that is the grace of our God through his Son, Jesus Christ. That will make all the difference in your world. And that will rescue you from any kind of Frankenstorm in life.